Today guys, Dylan with Denver Electronic Cigarettes, and I wanted to bring you some information regarding the differences in wire types, especially for building. For replacement coil tanks, you're definitely going to have some information on the box or on the coil itself that will tell you whether wire is temperature control or not and what temperature to run it at. As far as building in an RDA or an RTA or an RDTA, you're definitely going to have to know your stuff a little bit more. So I wanted to drop some knowledge on you a little bit. The first one we're going to talk about is Kanthal. Kanthal is going to be a wattage only wire. It's the highest resistance of wires most commonly used in building. So you're going to get a nice high resistance, a nice high surface area build, depending on what you like. It's easy to use, not really a lot of danger to using it, especially if you're using mechs. You're in the safe zone as long as you kind of know what you're doing, which refers to Ohm's law, obviously, which will be in a different video. From there, my personal favorite and my daily use is going to be NiChrome. This is going to be N80 right here. So NiChrome is going to be a lower resistance wire. It's going to be a nickel, chromium, and some trace iron and carbon in there. But it's going to be a much lower resistance wire. So for example, 8 wraps of 22 gauge Kanthal around a 3mm screwdriver is going to be around a 0.22 to a 0.26 depending on how it's pressed and depending on your lead lengths. Whereas NiChrome, 8 wraps 22 gauge NiChrome around a 3mm is going to be a 0.17 or 0.21, somewhere in there, again depending on your lead lengths and depending on your pressing. So NiChrome is going to be a little bit cleaner. It's going to ramp up a little bit faster. It's lower resistance, which means you do need to know your stuff before you build with it. If you build too low and you're not using a regulated box, you're gonna have a bad time. If you are building too low on a regulated box and it won't read your coil, you're gonna have a bad time. Keep in mind that when you do build dual coil setups, you are cutting the resistance in half. So if one coil that you build is reading at a 0.4, then according to Ohm's law, according to electromagnetism in physics, it should be, a dual coil setup should be a 0.2. Now that doesn't always work out that way. There are going to be lead differences, but it's going to be generally around that range. So you want to keep that in mind when you're building. If your target build is going to be a 0.3, then you're going to want to build a single coil. It's going to be around a 0.6, and you need to keep that in mind. Third wire I'm going to bring up today is going to be nickel. Nickel itself, Ni200, is going to be a temperature control only wire. It cannot be used in wattage mode. If you do use it in wattage mode, you're going to have a bad time. It's a really, really low resistance wire, which is why most temperature controlled chips in regulated devices, they're gonna have a low resistance factor. They might only allow a 0.2 or above for wattage mode, but they'll allow down to a 0.05. That's because this is not going to be putting out pure wattage. It's going to be based off of your temperature. So you're going to set it, and it's going to be based off of joules and the energy consumption that's going through the wire. So keep that in mind with if you're building with nickel, that you're building for temperature. So you're not trying to build super low. It's not made for huge clouds. It's made for flavor, a great vaping experience, no burn, nothing. And last but not least, I don't have a spool of it with me, but stainless steel. There's several different kinds of stainless steel, but stainless steel is unique in the fact that it can be used in either wattage or temperature control mode. Again, keep in mind that it's actually lower resistance even than NiChrome, so you are going to have to build more to get that resistance factor if you're trying to run it in wattage. Like I said, some devices will have they'll have different ranges for what you can build with for temperature control versus with wattage mode. So you want to keep that in mind when you're building what you're building for. You can build a good build that's going to be versatile back and forth, but you want to keep in mind that it might be the best bet to build stainless steel for wattage mode and then maybe rebuild it for temperature control mode if you want to get the most optimal and the most efficient vaping experience you can out of that wire. So thanks again guys for watching. I'll have more and more tutorials coming as we move forward through these FDA regulations. Thank you for sticking with us and come on in and see us.